All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Thrive After Sports podcast. Folks, I know I say it all the time. I know I always say we got a very special guest, but this is very special to me. I've been following this man's work for quite some time. I'm here with Donta Young. What's going on, Tay?
And man, I appreciate you. How you doing?
I'm doing great, brother. Appreciate you taking some time to do this. For those of you who aren't familiar with Tay, he's a spiritual life coach. He's a content creator. I want you to just stop what you're doing right now, pause the episode, and go type in Donta Young on YouTube, especially all you fellas out there. Now, this is not one of those episodes that is exclusive to men, but we are going to be talking to the men primarily today. Ladies, you're more than welcome to listen. Share this with a brother. Share this with your man. Share this with your dad. Share it with somebody who you know who could benefit from what we're going to talk about today. I'm a big fan of this man's work for many different reasons, which we'll get into. But I do want to start with the athletic journey. So, Tay, you ran track at South Carolina State, man. Towards the tail end of your career, what were you looking like? Were you trying to go to the Olympics? Were you trying to run professionally? What was the tail end of your track career like?
Yeah, man. So let's take it back. Um, Towards the end of my career, you always trying to see, what's next. Any athlete, you already know, man, was like that transition of trying to find yourself when like you coming to that end. So it's a very hard place to be in. Yeah, I was trying out for different track clubs, just trying to see what I can do with that. But for some reason, it wasn't as fun for me anymore after, it's just like when the people that you go to school with, that's on the team, like they make it fun, So like after that, I kind of lost the love for it in a sense. So I was in a place where I'm trying to figure out what's next in my life. I put so much energy into track and field, and it's like it just disappeared. So I was in a place, man, I was very lost. I didn't really know what I want to do as far as my degree. You already know how that goes with trying to get a job, and just that's a whole nother beast in itself. So, that's where I was at as far as getting ready to graduate and, trying to figure out. So
What was it like as you started to, you came out to the real world, like we say, you leave the bubble of college, the bubble of athletics. Before you started making content and that really started taking off, like what were you doing beforehand? What were you trying when you were in the process of discovering the next chapter? What was that like for you?
so I moved back home and I was working a regular job. And this is years before YouTube. This is probably like I started doing YouTube 2019. This is like 2015, 2016.
Mm.
Right. So I'm at home, I'm working. And at this point, around this time, this is where I started having almost a spiritual awakening. Like I just had this urge to want to better myself and just because at the time, man, I was in a very dark place. So I didn't feel good about my life. I was at rock bottom. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wasn't really doing anything that I wanted to do. And just the way I was living, man, just out here in the world, just out here, like out here for real. And it didn't sit right in my spirit, man. So I had this urge to want to better myself. And that's when I started doing my research on spirituality. I came across, y'all hear me talk about like um, meditation and things like this. This is when I started getting this knowledge. And then I came across sexual transmutation, semen retention, holding on to your seed, and that helps you to transform yourself into a higher version. So that was my, I guess, my start to semen retention was spirituality, was trying to better myself. I didn't know anything about it before that, but it's funny, man, because the Most High gives you hints and clues throughout your journey, throughout life, if you really pay attention. I always heard my coaches say, never have sex before a race because it drains you. You drain your life force. But as a young kid, man, your hormones raising, you in college, you're not thinking like you're like, all right, he's just talking, but I'm about to do what I do. You don't really understand the effects of it, you know, and just the focus and clarity you have when you actually have self-awareness of what that is for you, especially for the guys out there, man. You know, I watched the interview with Mike Tyson, and he said he went 5 years without releasing or without having sex. And if you see him, like just his aura, his energy, soon as he step in the ring, he put fear in his opponent's heart just from his energy alone, you know? And that's the type of energy you can have once you start to realize what it is and what it's doing for you. So,
man, Tay, we off to a fast start, man. You already go it is.
So. Ahead. My fault.
No, not ahead. This is actually like a perfect pivot for us to dive into. So, okay. I want to get back to your journey after college, but since we're here, let's talk about it, man. Like a lot of people, some people haven't been exposed to this knowledge, like you said. Like it's funny because even before I was exposed to content talking about retaining your seed, when I came back home from college, I was feeling guilty, man. I was watching too much corn. For those of you who don't know, that's something that Tay says on his channel, corn. We try to work with the YouTube algorithm. So just think adult entertainment. All right. So corn. I was watching a lot of corn because I was depressed and I was going through it. And then I stopped for a little bit and I noticed, I was stronger in the gym. I had more clarity. And I told my friends about it, and we're like 22, 23 at the time. And they just laughed at me like, what are you talking about? Like, you might blow up if you hold it in too long. And then so I let them almost like, yeah, what am I doing? Why would I? This is normal. This is natural. And I didn't pick it up until years later. So anyway, can you just take a deeper dive, man, not only what it did for you at the time when coming across this knowledge, but feel free to just go off, man. I know this is something you talk about on your channel all the time, just in terms of the power as men specifically of holding on to your seed and what happens when you take that practice seriously and actually do it over time.
So for the men, you got to understand that you have a divine essence inside of you. Okay. And this is something that we're not taught. You have a divine essence inside of you. And when you learn how to transmute that essence. So for instance, when you feel horny, when you get that feeling, that is your energy. That is not just something you're feeling. That is actually your energy building up and you are feeling that. So once you learn how to harness that energy into life, into your thoughts, into your goals, you can manifest things, right? You get a different type of focus. So this is what the whole practice is about. You know what I'm saying? When he was talking about the corn, man, like when I was in school, man, we knew corn stars like they was athletes, like they was we knew all the actresses. You laughing because you already know, man. You already know who, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I had a pretty bad addiction, in college and even outside of college. Like I'm talking about just like I would have tabs open of just different scenes that I want to release to. Like it was bad. You know what I'm saying? Like you get to the point where it's like you're not satisfied. You got to keep going more. You need more and more and more to satisfy you. It's like a drug almost. So that was something that took me a long time to really conquer. Even when I was doing semen retention, in my early stages, I still was looking at the corn and I would slip up, just psychologically, man, it does so much damage to your mental, to your spirit, right? Because you are opening yourself up to all these different entities that can attack you, these succubus, and you start to attract Jezebel, that type of energy into you, right? So it's deeper than just you watching something, you watching two people. It's spiritual, man. And you open yourself up to get attacked, right? So, like for me, it took for me to get attacked, man. I used to have all type of dreams, man, of just being, having these nightmares and things like this. And all these were cues for me to change. I had to change my ways. So if anybody out there struggling with that, you're struggling with that addiction, just understand that it's something that you need to conquer. Especially as a man has to have discipline. That's the foundation of of anybody is discipline. You have no discipline, you have nothing. You can't build anything, right?
Mhm. Yeah, man. I love that you keep harping on that point that it is an addiction because it's so normalized. And I've heard you talk about this in your content time and time again, man. It's so normalized in our society that it's almost like people don't realize they're addicted. And then so I even heard you in one of your videos, you're like, if you don't think you're addicted, when's the last time you went, a week, 2 weeks, a month without consuming corn or without releasing? Um, and you know what, man, it's one of those things where I think sometimes I don't think men, like you said, realize the spiritual aspect of it in terms of like the entities that you're taking in. Like, can you just dive a little deeper into that? Like, because people just think, oh, it's normal. I love looking at, I just want to see some naked women or whatever. I just want to get off. It's normal. It's just what I do. But can you just take a deeper dive into the spiritual aspect of the energies you take in from the people on screen and just something to consider, man?
Yeah. So, you're watching strangers, man. You don't know these people. So you don't know what type of energy or what type of spirit they have. And then you're watching something that's very sacred, right? That's a very private and sacred act to have sex. So that right there, they say it's taboo, but that right there, you're already entering into a danger zone or zone that you're not supposed to be really playing with. So as far as the spiritual aspect, like the energies, anytime everything that we do has, or everything has a spirit attached to it, a certain energy, a frequency attached to it. So when you engage in that activity, you open up portals, you open up yourself to be attached to that energy, right? So we all know if you're watching corn, that's putting you down in your lower self, which is just lust, desire, right? Your animalistic self. Okay. So you being at that low frequency, anything else that's at that frequency can match yours. It can hijack your energy as well. Okay. And then this is going to put you in a very dark place. On top of the spiritual aspect, mentally, you are getting what's the word I want to use? A flood of dopamine, right? We're not supposed to have that much pleasure, that much access to pleasure at one time, right? See, you're supposed to work for pleasure, but you can just at the click of a button go on there and just have all these different scenes, all these different tabs or whatever, and you're getting all this dopamine, but you haven't worked for it. So that right there is frying your dopamine receptors, right? So, I mean, we can get into it, man. Like that's a whole nother, that could be a whole nother session in itself, just talking about the spiritual and mental aspects of it.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna just encourage people to go watch more of your content to take a deeper dive on that, man.
Yeah.
You made me think of something with the energies. I heard something the other day. It was talking about how, and you know this, a lot of people in the corn industry, these are people who come from, traumatic backgrounds. Obviously, something led them to that place, right? Whether they want to admit it or not. And there's a high suicide rate or just, drug overdose. There's a high death rate amongst those stars. So someone said something other, it might have been even in your content, man, but it just freaked me out because it was like a lot of you guys don't even realize you are pleasuring yourself to a dead person. Just think about that. Just think about like the spiritual implications of that. Like you said, that energy coming off the screen. To those, man, like, because this is something I've heard you talk about. Like, there's a difference between watching corn, pleasuring yourself, and actually having sex with a real live human being. Can you just talk about the difference in that for a second?
Okay. So the difference is, I like to say you releasing the digital cheeks. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? A screen. Like when you have sex, right? So you have a partner, y'all are exchanging energy. Sex means sacral energy exchange. So you're exchanging energy with your partner. You give them some, they give you some. When you're looking at a screen, you're giving all your energy away and getting nothing in return. So now it's a vampire, right? It's stealing your life force. So that type of relationship already is toxic. And then you form these emotional bonds with your computer, your phone, and these people that you never met. And that's not healthy. Right. On top of that, energy energy surpasses anything. So you are tapping into that person's energy as well. As I said before, you don't know this person, so you don't know what they do behind closed doors. And then when you're tapping into their energy, now you're receiving all whatever demons, whatever type of, toxic habits they have, you're downloading that. So, having sex with someone that you love and you care about, right? That's going to heal you. It can actually heal you, and you're actually strengthening a bond with somebody that you care for. So that's the difference.
Yeah, man. This is okay. So this is more of a personal question. Now I'm being selfish. I'm asking you, I'm taking advantage of some coaching right now, right? So for me, not watching corn, not pleasuring myself, I've definitely got that mastered. Yeah. The thing is, I'm engaged, right? And now she understands my mission, my purpose, why I want to retain. But maybe you can give some advice to the fellas out there. Maybe once you've overcome that first step, dealing with women, having that exchange. Because if you want to retain for a certain period of time, like you said, we all have urges, especially if you might be in a relationship. I guess what I'm asking is what's your general advice on that? And then also when it comes to having that conversation with your significant other about what you're doing, how do you break that down?
So, you really just got to it's all about communication. So you explain what you're doing, and you got to have a philosophy behind it, why you're doing it. Because I've talked to guys too who say, man, they don't have no support from their significant other, their girl, their wife, but they don't really explain anything about it. They just say, I'm on retention. But you got to tell her what the benefits are. You got to tell her what it's doing and how it's going to help y'all relationship, right? Because when a man holds on to his seed, he's not releasing, his aura becomes stronger. He has more magnetism. So then that's going to make the woman more attracted to him just off of biology. That's just nature, right? Because you have a more attractive life force. So if you're in a relationship, you can still have sex. There's nothing wrong with that, but you don't have to release. And see, this is something we're not taught either. We're taught that an orgasm is you letting go of your seed. And that's not the case. A man can have an orgasm just like a woman. It's a body. It's internal, right? As soon as you release your seed, that connection goes away. This is why you might be feeling your girl, and as soon as you release, you roll over. You don't want her touching you. You like all that. They call it what they call it. They say post nut clarity. Mm-hmm. It's not post nut clarity. It's just you just lost your energy. All that energy that you had just went away. So you killed the circuit between y'all two, the masculine and feminine energy. You killed that circuit. So, the corn, man, the corn teaches us just to go and beat it up and just beat it up. No type of intimacy, no nothing. And that's teaching us wrong. That's not the way that we're supposed to be engaging with our partner. You're supposed to take your time. You're supposed to communicate. Y'all supposed to discover each other. And in doing that, now that you're taking your time, you're in the moment, you're not worrying about if she's going to get an orgasm. If you are, y'all just in the present moment, it's going to happen naturally. Right. So that's something you want to tap into. If you really have someone you care for and you still want to be intimate, learning how to take your time and enjoy each other's.
I love that, man. I love everything about what you just said, especially what you said up front about the communication. You know what I mean? That was something I had to, because you know how it is, man. At first, when I started doing this, my wife was on some, you're not attracted to me anymore. And all those types of things start coming up. And when you explain the benefits of it, it makes a world of difference, especially like you said, when you bring it around full circle, it's not just for me, it's for us, right? Mm-hmm. This is going to make us better as a unit and be able to, as a man, be able to go out and provide better. So right. That's good, man. And let's get back to your journey for a second, because once you came across this knowledge, and started practicing it, what are some ways that you saw your life start to improve from where you were at and just start to, be on the upward tick?
Right off the bat, I had more confidence in myself. I say by after 2 weeks of doing it, I just felt like I had no worries, like everything was going to be okay. I felt more connected. I walk outside, just everything looked so bright and vivid. I felt connected to the trees, to just everything around me. I could feel. I had more clarity in my mind. I wasn't worrying about this, worrying about that. Like I could focus and I could really think about what's next in my life. So that right there, off the bat, just helped me to try to figure out who Donta is. You know, the health benefits. I had more energy. I started waking up earlier. I started having more ambition to want to changing my diet, just changing the way that I carry myself, wanting to just look better, wanting to treat others better. All these changes started happening one by one, right? Healing myself from all the traumas, my past relationships, wanting to just go within and have to find closure for these things that I never did. Because before that, man, I was just going through life. I wasn't really aware of who I was hurting and who had hurt me. You sweep it under the rug and you keep living life. But I started being more aware of what I've been through, man, and wanting to find closure for these things and release that energy.
And then so as things started to improve for you, you started to heal yourself, you started to become more empowered internally. At which point did you know you wanted to become a spiritual life coach? At which point did you become a content creator? Like when did the light bulb just go off one day, or did you just sort of start to carve out that lane for yourself? What was the process like?
So I first started off posting like little motivational clips on IG, like little 30-second clips, just saying motivation. And I would see that, it would get a lot of like people responded to it. Like they would tell me, this helped me. I appreciate you for saying this. And so I kept doing it. And someone had asked me, it was like, man, you should do longer clips. You should go on YouTube. So I was like, nah, I ain't gonna do all that. Right. So I just kept doing what I was doing. And at this time, man, I was still trying to figure myself out. So I would ask every day, I would pray to the Most High God, like, what is my purpose in life? Because at this time I was working a job. I had a good job using my degree. Right. So I was financially, I was in a good place. But it didn't feel like, it still didn't sit right with me, my spirit. Like I wasn't doing what I'm supposed to do. I was just working, but I'm not living my sole purpose. So I would just ask that every single day, every day, every day. So one day, man, I just got my phone, just turned the phone on and just started talking right here in this spot, right here on this couch. My first YouTube video. And from there, like as soon as I did that, I felt like this change. Like I could see like, or I could feel like something's about to change in my life. Like I just opened up a door to something. And then from there, man, it just blew up. And I had it wasn't the goal. This was not the goal at all. Doing what I'm doing, just speaking to you right now, I never thought 5 years ago I'd be doing this. Right. But it just happened. Everything just happened. And that was just me affirming myself and asking the Most High, like, what is my purpose? And when you ask, you shall receive. He gave me the breadcrumbs. Right. So nah, man, it wasn't in by design to do this, but as I seen it like grow, I was like, okay, let me keep doing this, And what really made me realize this was my purpose was when I started getting comments from people saying, man, your videos changed my life. Or man, I'm in a happy relationship now. I got the job that I want. I'm living a life that I want because of your videos. And that scared me for a second because I was like, wow, like I really had this impact on people's lives. And I was kind of scared because I didn't want that responsibility. But then I embraced it and said, you know what, it's bigger than me. Like I'm doing this because it's part of a bigger design. I'm meant to help others. I'm meant to help them find the potential in themselves to become a greater version. So that's kind of where, everything began.
Man, Tay, that's dope, man. One of my favorite things about what you just shared was how you just sat on that very couch right behind you right now, like the same couch, and just started recording. And so many people in a world where people are just afraid, like, how do I get started? How do I do it? You just did it and put it out. and you stay consistent, man. And like, would you say with what you're doing now, that's helped you through your transition, no longer competing athletically? Like now you have this new calling, this new thing that you can compete with yourself and get better at every day, and know that it's helping people?
Absolutely. And what I came to find out was the same energy that I put into track, it's no different. I got the same ambition for this, the same drive. It's just the focus is in a different outlet. Right. And I had to realize it wasn't track that made me happy, but it was just me pursuing something that I love. Right. So I get the same feeling doing this that I did when I ran track. Right. And for anybody out there who's trying to find themselves, man, don't let what you do define you. Right. Because even if you lose everything today, it's your energy, it's your essence, it's your spirit, your soul, which helps you obtain the life that you want, finding yourself, right? It's all you at the end of the day. And that's what I had to realize, man. You know, whatever you put your energy towards, you can have, you can accomplish.
Mm-hmm. I hear you referencing, even on this interview today, and even just all throughout your content, you reference the Most High frequently. Is that something you've always had with you in terms of your relationship with God, or is that something you've had to cultivate? And how did that all come about?
Well, I grew up Christian. So like early, my grandfather was a pastor. So I had a spiritual background early in my life. And you know, as I started doing more research and started, you know, other cultures and things like that, I realized like everybody don't worship the same thing, right? So when I started using the Most High, I wanted to specify who I'm talking to, the Most High, right? If you're talking to God, obviously you want to be praying to the Most High, right? The one that's in charge, the Omega and the Alpha, right? So I make it known that I'm talking to the Most High God, because to some, there's many gods. If you look at different cultures, man, some cultures are they worship many gods. So you got to be specific on which God you're talking about, because you don't want to be praying to something that's, you know, trying to bring your downfall, right? So that's where the Most High came from. Just specify who I'm talking to, you know, the one and only God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you know what, Tay? That's why I asked you that question, man, because just like you, I grew up Christian, and then I guess throughout college, I got kind of, what be the word, like disassociated a little bit, and was on an atheist tip, because I thought I was so intelligent and just thinking like, well, this doesn't add up, so there might not be a God. And then I found myself getting into spirituality. And then ultimately, like the past 2-3 years, man, I'm right back at square one, not necessarily as a Christian, like you said, but having a stronger and stronger relationship with the Most High God that grows every single day. So what do you think is the importance of having, you know, not necessarily being religious, but what is the importance as men and women too, of course, of just having some sort of relationship with something that's bigger than us in your life?
For me, it was all about me finding myself. When you find yourself, you will see that you have a connection to a higher source automatically. You've had it since you were born, right? When you was a child, man, you was a pure soul, pure energy. So you were moving like you didn't have no doctrines in your mind of I need to worship this or this or that. You were just moving automatically, right? You already had the Most High God in you, and we all do. So it's very important that you search for yourself, because when you search for yourself, you're going to find the true source, right? There's only one source, you know, and we all have many ways that we find that source. But when it's all said and done, it's only one source. So it's important for you to think outside the box and realize that there is something bigger than us. Like this flesh, we all got to die one day, right? This life is temporary. So you got to understand that energy never dies, and we go somewhere after this. Something happens to us after this. So when you just start with that, you'll realize that, yeah, there's something bigger than us. There's a higher intelligence that designed this, even this world we live in. Something designed this. The fact that you're breathing right now, you know, why do you need to breathe? What is in this space and this essence that you need to survive? right? You can go without food and water, but you can't go without breathing. What is that? Right. So when you start asking these little questions like this, you will start to find answers and you'll start to find that connection.
Yes, sir. Great answer, man. I love that. I just feel like in a world that's trying to take us away from God or lead us towards, like you said, certain practices that are worshiping the wrong gods or the wrong form of God, I think it's important for people to hear men talk about that, like the impact that it's had on your life, just having that connection, cultivating that connection, and because ultimately that's what guides us, like you said, man.
Yeah, because I don't believe no one can lead you to God. I think you have to find God yourself, right? See, we've been taken away from self and we've been pulled outside of ourselves to look for everything, look for happiness, look for God out in the world. And it's not out in the world, it's inside of you. The true knowledge is in you, right? And once you tap back into that, man, you will start to see a whole new world open up.
Man, that's actually a perfect segue because I wanted to ask you about the spiritual life coaching. Like, I'm assuming that came about as you were already doing content, right? And then how did you decide you wanted to actually start helping people in that specific way?
Yeah, so back to the YouTube, I started getting a lot of questions, people asking me for advice. And as my platform grew, when I was a little bit smaller, I could just answer questions, it was no problem. But as my platform grew, man, it was impossible to get back to every single person and just to answer their comments. So I was like, maybe I can do like consultations. Maybe I can set something up to where I can actually talk to people in real time, a one-on-one. And man, like that's another thing. Just like me sitting on this couch and recording, that was just something else I jumped into. All these doorways started opening up. Mind you, I was still asking, even to this day, I still ask the Most High God, what is my purpose, and keep leading me on my purpose. So all these things started to open up because of that. And when I started doing my first couple consultations, I just seen like the people light up, that light bulb go off when I say something to them, or just by them having a conversation with me, they felt better. They felt good. Their energy was high. And I said something to them that helped them have an aha moment and really change their life. So I was like, man, let me dive more into this. This might be something that I need to do as well. This might be part of my calling. So yeah, it all started, man, just like I said, me finding myself and going back. Like sometimes you got to go back to your childhood and do some memory searching, because that's where you're going to really find your true self, right? And as I went through my memories, I realized that whenever someone had a problem, I always knew the right things to say to make them feel better. And I had to remember that. Like every time I was with this person, they always said, man, you just know what to say to make me feel better. So I started getting the pieces together and bringing them to my present. Like, oh, okay, maybe that's a clue, that's a hint, right? And I ran with it.
That's good, man. That's maybe this is a good place because just listening to your story, man, I know all the athletes, current and former, everyone who tunes into the show, by hearing your story, your journey, your evolution is already inspiration. But I just feel like where we're at right now, this might be a good spot for me to ask you, man, to those athletes who are listening, basically the younger versions of us coming out of college, coming off their professional careers, who are just like, man, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. I don't even know where to get started. I don't know anything but ball. I don't know anything but track. Like, what can you share with those people right now?
I always see, when I do my coaching, I always ask people like, what do you like to do? Right. So outside of sports, like what do you enjoy doing? You don't have to get paid for it. Anytime you do it, you lose yourself for hours. Time don't exist. What do you like doing? Right. And then when they list what they like to do, I say, okay, now how can you find a way to serve the world doing this? Right. And then from there, I tell people, man, focus all your energy on that. That's all you do. If you got to write it down, like, okay, this is what I want to do. And then from there, you map it out and say, what is it going to take? What steps do I need to take to achieve this goal or to achieve this lifestyle for myself? Going back to the semen retention. Semen retention is when you hold on to your seed, it allows you to have this energy to cultivate into your goals. So when you're not releasing, see, it's a creative force. Sex is for procreating, right? So when you release, you have a child, you create something. So if you're not trying to have a child, you can create your lifestyle. You can bring that energy up, cultivate it into your thoughts, and actually create and manifest your lifestyle faster, right? So it all goes full circle, right? Y'all see now, first we talked about doing retention first. I had to build that tolerance up to hold on to my seed. And then I was able to manifest my life. But I had to gain that discipline first. So understand that all these things work together. You can't just do one. Everything works together in full circle. So tap into yourself first and really ask that question every day. What is my purpose? What is my purpose? What do I like? What do I like to do? What do I want to do? And then from there, man, you'll start getting answers.
Man, I love what you said about how you encourage people trying to find what they want to do next, or trying to find their life's purpose or their mission, just to look at the things that they're good at, what they've always been good at. And like you said, figuring out how you can use that to help other people. And like I said, your story is a prime example of that. Like, you started recording videos and putting them out, helping people long before you were earning a living or, getting compensated to do so. And I think that's how it starts.
Yeah.
So I think that was really solid, man. And then just looking at do you have any tips? Because I know all of it, man, it really comes down to consistency when it's all said and done, and actually having something to say or being someone that people want to listen to. But a lot of people want to do, become content creators in some way, shape, or form, whether that's YouTube or podcasting, whatever the case may be. I know there's no secret sauce, man. I'm not but what is it, do you think, aside from having a great message and a great delivery, that, has people tune in or has made your channel grow? Any advice you can give in that department?
So when I first started my channel, I thought about, okay, I got two roads I can go down. I can either be someone who just wants to have views and likes, and I can just do some type of content that's going to bring that in, or I can leave a legacy, right? And I told myself, I don't want to be no entertainer. I want people to be able to come to my videos and learn something and to spread a message. So if you're trying to be a content creator, the first thing you want to do is establish, what is your channel about? Like, what do you want people to get from your channel or your content? Right? That's the first thing. And then from there, it's about being consistent. It's about being real with yourself, right? Not trying to be like anybody else but yourself. Because from what I've noticed, people they're going to tune into your channel based off of your energy, just by who you are, your personality. People like you for you. And we all have a soul tribe. So you're going to have people that's going to gravitate toward your energy just by nature, just by you being yourself. So don't try to be like no one else. Keep it 100, right? Be consistent and make sure you're doing something make sure you're creating content that you love creating, that you're doing something that's, it's your purpose and it's meant for you to spread that message, right? Because some people get caught up in just doing anything just for attention. And for one, it's not going to last long. You got what you call them one-hit wonders. People get their 15 minutes of fame because they just following trends or they just doing something for, and it has no meaning to it. So make sure everything you do has substance behind it.
Solid advice right there, man. Tay, you already been so gracious with your time, man. I want to make sure I'm being respectful of your time right now. But as we start to wind down a little bit, number one, please just tell people how they can get in touch with you. If they want to do some coaching, what's the best way to follow the journey, reach out to you and get in touch?
Okay. So y'all can follow me on YouTube, Donta Young. I'm on IG. I'm on TikTok. I have a Patreon. I'm on Discord. So if y'all go to my IG, y'all can follow my IG _LEDDREW. And if you want a consultation with me, you can email me at DontaYoung2112@gmail.com.
Awesome. We'll have all that in the show notes. And then last but not least, man, before we close out, you've already given so much, man. Like I said, just your advice, you sharing yourself, your journey. But is there anything on your heart right now to share just with anybody who may be tuning in? I don't have a specific question. Whatever the Most High is speaking through you, man. What's on your heart?
I would say, I know a lot of us go through, a lot in our lives, our daily lives, and we're trying to just figure out what's the next move, what's the next steps. But always remember to keep a positive mindset. And I know that might sound cliche, but your thoughts attract your reality. So you want to make sure that you are in control of that at all times. If you have to, take a few minutes to meditate, be in the present moment, and run through your thoughts and throw away any thoughts that's not serving you, right? And keep on doing that maintenance on yourself, because if you don't do that, you'll start attracting things. You'll start attracting a lifestyle to you that you didn't mean to, right? So just make sure that you always stand positive, man. And whatever you want to accomplish, you can do that. You just got to see it. You got to have a vision, and you got to be consistent with it. So that's all I got to say.
That's a perfect way for us to wrap up, man. Tay, I just want to say thank you again for coming on and spending some time today, man. You are a prime example of what it looks like to thrive after sports. Like I said, man, that's the direction I'm going with the show. And that's why I want to have people like you on to really show what it looks like. I have been watching your content for almost a year at this point. And then when I followed you on IG, I'm like, man, I didn't know this dude ran track at SC State. Yeah. And at that point I was like, oh man, now you know me, I stay persistent, man. I'm hitting you like, come on, we got to do this show. Can you come on? So I'm just honored that you spent the time. I know it's going to help a lot of people. And just thank you, man. Thank you for all the work that you do in the world, because you already know this, but it never hurts to have another reminder. You're impacting lives every day, even if it's indirectly, man. People who just come across your content and get helped by it. So thank you for the work you do in this world, brother.
Likewise. I appreciate you too, man. And your platform as well, bro. Like, being a former athlete, I know the struggle of that transition from being an athlete to the real world. So, man, what you're doing, bro, you saving a lot of lives, a lot of depression, a lot of confusion. So I appreciate you.
Thank you, Tay. Appreciate you. All right. Hey, for everybody tuning in, Thrive After Sports followers and Retain Gang, you know what I'm saying? Everybody tapping in. This has been another great episode of Thrive After Sports with the man himself, Mr. Donta Young. Make sure you check the show notes, tap in with everything this man has going on, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks again, Tay. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.